All right, guys, what up? Welcome to the 28th episode and first episode of 2021, The Get Down. My name is Cream.
I'm Gary W. What's going on, guys? Happy New Year, everybody.
Man, Happy New Year. We're back and we're back to business, you know?
And we all thought 2021, positive 2021. It's been a shit show for 7 days.
Yeah, we talked about it though. Like I expect nothing less. Like it's just going to continue to be what it is for a little while.
Of course, but no, it's such a so it's just really funny after 1 week to see all the shit that's gone down already. But all good though, all good. Pushing on, moving forward.
Yeah, man, shit is wild, but whatever. I think. To go on the theme of just like the 2020 carryover into 2021. So I ended up DJing New Year's Eve, like super last minute booking. One of the places that we just started working with in Hoboken asked me to come play. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go make some money. And I still get to ring in the new year with my girl, my friends, and my family, which was really cool. Cause I don't know, since I started DJing, I have not done that. So
those smaller type gigs for those events make it a little more accessible for everybody. And then like you're also more accessible to them. So that's always nice.
Well, yeah. I mean, like we're closing at 10 p.m. So that's why.
Oh, God, you know what? I just keep forgetting that's happening.
Yeah. 10 p.m. Shit shuts down.
So you played 80?
So I played 80 River, open to close.
Nice.
And it was cool. They were, we're at 25% capacity, but they were quote unquote like sold out. So it was cool. The energy was okay for not being able to have a dance floor or do anything that we would normally do on New Year's Eve. But the reason why I bring it up is because there was a girl who was hanging out with her friends at a table who walked into the place super drunk and was like trying to come over and hang out with me in the DJ booth. And I'm like, listen, no, like you can't be up here. She was like fucked up and was not wearing a mask, which personally I don't really care about, but I know that the business can get in trouble for that. So
right, of course,
like, I'm like, you got to go or you got to go sit down. Like you can't be up here. And if you are up, you have to wear your mask. Like you can't be doing what you're doing. And she's like, all right. I just want you to play this one song. I swear, like my friends, everyone's going to love it. It's going to be great. I'm like, all right, what's the song? Like, and I'm at the point where it's very few people. I just want people to have a good time. I will play anything pretty much because I don't care. And she's like, can you play Wagon Wheel? Like the country song. And I'm like, oh God, like I guess, but you're going to have to wait till I get into that world.
Right.
It was probably
until everybody else is on the level that you're on.
Right. Like I was
7 more shots.
It was pre-peak, quote unquote. I was still in like the building energy phase. Nowhere near where that song would ever even come close to working.
That song for me was always post-peak. Everybody's super drunk, and I borderline want to push people out the door.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never playing that song, so
right.
I can't believe I even had it in my crates. But
I've leaned on that song in my 1 to 1:30 when you close at 1:30. So
yeah, that's a good like end of night song. You're right.
Great sing along, like when you want to slam your sing alongs. That's a good track for that.
It's funny because my brain went to that exact thing. I was like, listen, I play it at the end of the night. Like we'll play it later when we play fun stuff, whatever.
But you knew in the back of your head she wasn't making it to the end of the night.
Probably not. No.
Right. I mean, if you're coming in noticeably whacked, the chances you're making it 3 hours is slim. But
so she asked me for the song. She keeps coming back up, and I text the manager on the side. I'm like, hey, if this girl comes up here, can you get rid of her? Like, tell her that she's not allowed to be up here, please. There's no security, really. I think there's like one security guard or something. But anyway, she's sitting at her table and like turning around and every 3 seconds screaming across the room, play Wagon Wheel, play Wagon Wheel.
Oh my God.
And like, you know how I am in general. You guys who listen to the show know my thoughts on requests generally. I've gotten better, but I still go back to my hatred of requests. And it just got to the point where after maybe 10 or 15 times of screaming across the room, I got on the mic and said, if you turn around and yell at me to play a song again, I'm going to get you thrown out of here.
Wow. It got like that.
Yeah, I was just so over it. Like, I wasn't drinking because it was New Year's Eve. I had to drive home. I had like one high noon.
Wow.
And I was just over it. And that's how I rang in my New Year's or New Year's Eve.
With the heckler yelling wagon wheel at you. You know what? That's the way you're going to kick off 2021. That's, it's how it's going to be. In those situations, it's really, I go back and forth, right? Like it depends on my mood that night. And I think a lot of DJs are probably the same way. Like if I had a little bit of a rough day, my attitude toward that person is going to reflect that, right? But like, all right, if I maybe had a couple drinks and I'm a little more lighthearted, then like I try to find like a kind of a funny way to throw it in there, whether it be like slam the music down and like cut the music off for a second and then throw the track on. And just because that everybody else in the place has heard this woman yell this, right? So it would just kind of be a laughable moment if you just kind of like slammed like whatever record you were playing and then threw a wagon with Darius Rucker in there or whatever.
Yeah, but you know what, Gar, we're coaches, right? We're teachers. I have to make sure that people understand that is not okay. Like, that's not okay. It's not okay. In what world is that behavior okay? In what job? In what situation is that okay?
That's not okay. It's not. But and we say this time and time again, our job isn't looked at as your normal prototypical 9 to 5 because it's not, right? There's a lot of things that go along with our job that are certainly not allowed at your typical 9 to 5. Drinking and dealing with drunk people being one of them. So you kind of have to tailor it to the situation. It's all situational. And that's why, like, because people like that can overstep the line, right? You have habitual line steppers out there.
Habitual line steppers.
As Dave Chappelle once said, where like they're continuously stepping over the line all night long until you have to get nasty with them. And then they're like, well, there's no need to get nasty with me. It's like, bro, like where the hell have you been all night? Like you entitled fuck. But like, that's, it's unfortunately the work environment that we're in.
The reason why I said it was a heckler is because literally it reminded me of being like at a sports event where some terrible, annoying human that calls himself a fan is abusing one of the players. Like that's what I feel like.
Oh man, I'm laughing hard right now because I keep thinking about the two old men from the Muppets that are just like heckling the whole time. You know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
That's how I picture the scene going. But man, it's unfortunate. There's always that like one person, especially on the big nights. You're always gonna have them on the big nights. For all you DJs out there that aren't consistent in your every SantaCon, Leprechaun, Thanksgiving Eve, you name the holiday, there's going to be a pain in the ass in the crowd, no matter what. I don't care. I don't care if your party starts at 10 a.m. At 10:15 a.m., there's going to be some entitled drunk girl yelling, play whatever, insert the biggest hit of the day that you're going to play 6 times anyway. And you have to be mentally prepared for that. And when you go in blind thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy day or this is going to be a lot of fun, yes, it is, but you're going to have to deal with the shit that goes along with that as well. Those days are always the best. That excluding New Year's. I hate DJing New Year's.
Sucks.
Everybody builds up the night in their head like it's going to be this epic celebration, and it's always this same boring shit where people are standing around till noon, somebody's throwing up by 11:30, and by the time 12:30 rolls around, the place is cleared out anyways because everybody got so drunk at open bar. It's such an overrated bar holiday. I'm not saying the pay is not good. The pay is great, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody going out and spending their money because that dictates our pay. But the party side of it is actually not as good as people build it up to be in their head.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think, I don't know, New Year's was never my favorite, but it was always amazing money. And I usually doubled up. So it was like 4x the money I would normally make on a regular night. But when when I'm playing on a regular Saturday at a nightclub, like a straight up club spot, and I'm used to a certain thing, New Year's Eve is not that whatsoever. It starts way earlier. There's a lot of people that don't normally go out, a lot of people that don't normally come to your venue, so they don't know what the vibe is.
Right.
They don't know you as a DJ. So it's there's a lot of moving parts. There's always, bottles and special things, and whether you have fire breathers or whatever, there's always extra stuff happening and makes it a super challenging night.
Would you say, because I've had the feeling in my own residencies that I've been in for a long time, that when I walked into the booth on New Year's Eve, the whole atmosphere just felt different. I almost felt like a stranger to the venue because of that. My regulars weren't usually there. Sometimes my staff was different because they were celebrating or doing whatever.
Right. They have to, the bartender has to go be with their boyfriend, and there's like extra staff.
Right. So like it feels alien. And I've been in those situations where I'm here every week, every Saturday, and all of a sudden there's like 7 people in here that I have no idea who they are as far as staff is concerned. And then, the people that are partying, I also haven't seen. So I don't know how to cater to certain parts of the audience. And it just feels like a new gig, if you will. I've been in that situation a lot, and that's why a lot of the times that unless the money was incredible, then I was looking for like a concert to go to.
Yeah,
those were always epic. Like the set lists would be incredible, the fans were great, and there was always great before party and after party. So like that was always cool experience.
Yeah.
But being in like a bar or nightclub, like it fell short all the time.
I couldn't pull myself away from the money and like the hype behind New Year's Eve. I remember I was living with my brother for a while, and he was going to see Coldplay and Jay-Z, I believe, at Giant Stadium. And like, I was real salty that I wasn't going to that. And it didn't help that he came back and it was like one of the best shows I've ever seen. And he's like a rock guy. Like he's not a hip hop guy. He's not like, he is, but that's not his main genre. So for him to come back and say that was one of the best shows he had ever seen, it was rough.
Yeah. Like in retrospect, I'm thinking back and like I saw My Morning Jacket, who probably anybody who's listening to this has no idea who that is, but they played Madison Square Garden one year. That I went there with the flu. I was absolutely sick. I smoked so much weed before the event that it made me feel better. And then we went over and saw Fish a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years
I
ago,
remember that
at the Garden, and closed down an amazing hippie bar called American Beauty right across the street from.
I think I've been there with you, right?
Yeah, I think
that's like the free pizza place.
Free pizza and the buckets of beer.
Yeah.
That was their last night. That New Year's was the last night they had ever opened because some developer came in and bought the building, obviously, to have skyrocketed rent.
Man, I'll tell you what. You want to get people in the door, offer free pizza.
That they were like little 8-inch like personals, right? And they gave you like a raffle ticket is what it was, essentially, like one of those little red or blue tickets that you would get to go into the high school sports game.
I remember like it was yesterday. I don't know why.
Because that place is a unique experience.
Yeah.
And you walked in, and they, just for walking in, they gave you a free pizza. The buckets of beer were inexpensive. They had really good beers on tap, and they had some kind of games or something upstairs. And then I don't know if it was the night that you came, but they had like great, really off-kilter DJs there, like playing soul funk stuff, but like stuff that you would never. I don't even know where you find this. Like, I think there's just like this inner circle of DJs that pass this music around.
Yeah.
But it definitely inspired, like, and that's one thing that we were talking about with Nice. Like, you're just like a student of music. Like, that inspired me to get into that music and play that more, like for like opening sets, just to kind of like switch up vibes. So like, you kind of never know where you're going to see a great DJ. Like that was like a random hippie bar across the street from the Garden. That was great, but totally off topic here. My bad.
Speaking of going off topic, let me peel the curtain back for our listeners real quick. So normally Gary and I will have some sort of a conversation about what we're going to talk about. Obviously, if we have a guest, we do a lot more preparation. Sometimes we just wing it. I'm going to wing it right now.
Go for it.
So we had our Get Down University coaching call yesterday, and we were just talking about New Year's Eve, and I brought up on the coaching call a situation that I was in. We were talking about kind of navigating situations where you're either a resident or you're working at a place regularly and a bigger or better opportunity arises. And it's like, all right, you want to go work this bigger or better event, but how do you transition, or how do you make that happen with the venue that puts you on consistently, right? And how do you make sure they're okay with it and you still get to go do what you want to do? I brought it up on the call. There was an opportunity for me. My Saturday night residency had booked me for New Year's Eve, and I had another opportunity come up in Atlantic City playing with Sonny James and Ryder Marciano. And it was a really tough situation because, of course, I wanted to go play that gig, but my residency, Birch in Hoboken, was already promoting on the radio, had a flyer out, had a video out, like all this stuff with my name associated with it. And, they've been really good to me for years, not only at that venue, but at 2 other venues that I was their resident at. So it was like a really tough situation. So how do you navigate those situations?
See, I always that's always my fallback one, because you and I went back and forth about that for probably, it felt like weeks. It was probably like 3 days, because it had to be a quick answer. I remember that your back being kind of up against the wall, and it was very, very long conversations of the pros and cons of it. I think it depends on, like in that situation, you have to stay at the venue that has promoted you already, the venue that has done right by you, the venue that has, they really helped build your name in Hoboken and the greater Northern Jersey area, in my opinion.
No, 100%.
And that's why it's like, okay, well, unfortunately, I have to pass off, right? So we always say this, like you kind of have to take each situation and break it down into various levels and be like, okay, well, like I said before, these are the pros and these are the cons, and make a very educated decision based on that. Now, in retrospect, we know that HQ unfortunately never called you back after that, right? And those are the chances that you have to take when those situations arise.
Right. So we always say, like, never say no if you can avoid it, right? If you're a younger DJ that's working their way up, if you have an opportunity that presents itself, you want to say yes. Or if you're like me, who has been an established DJ in my market, that someone outside of the market or in, HQ is a place where they're booking bigger talent. And I had started working there and had played maybe 4 or 5 months in a row where I was opening for, Throttle and Kungs and Boombox Cartel, and
you got that call. You got that call because of that Kung set. That Kung set was on your birthday, so it was like December, like what, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, like it was on that weekend, whatever it was. And then they called you 2 weeks later because you crushed that set. You had the place going crazy.
Right, and we sold like 2 tables that night too. So like,
right, but you handled that room a lot better than he did that night in your opening set, and then you came on to close, and everybody was loving both ends of that set, and the people that were there for Kungs were there for Kungs, but everybody else that was just casino goers, stayed and spent money. And the venue realized that, and they called you. I guess it was probably like a week or 2 later. How they didn't have an opening DJ for Sonny James and Ryan Marciano, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't really get that either.
But that was the situation. That is the situation that led to that.
I think if it was any other circumstance, if I was one of 6 DJs at name another place in the tri-state area, I would have easily said, you know what? I have a better opportunity. I'm sorry. I appreciate you guys. If you want to keep me on the flyer, I'll promote the party, but I'm going to go play Atlantic City because I have to.
Right.
And I think I probably could have done that at Birch, but I would have felt bad about it. And being that they had done so much for my career and put so much money in my pocket, I felt like the right thing to do was to say no to HQ, not thinking that I was not going to get another call back after 4 or 5 months in a row playing there, you know?
Yeah. Well, so in those situations too, I always put myself in the owner's place and say, okay, I've done this for this DJ and I've helped him with this, that, and the other thing. And now after having him on the flyer and putting money behind his name, he's gonna, book on me, and I'm not.
It would have been a little it would have been dirty. I mean, if it was my venue or if it was Get Down DJs and one of our guys did that to us, I would have been pissed, you know?
Right. And
that's how you and I talked about it and looked at it.
And that's at the end of the day how you need to make a decision. If you can't remove yourself, if you're unable to remove yourself from a situation and put yourself in somebody else's shoes, it's going to be very hard for you to make educated decisions, big decisions that could affect your career. So it's really important that you try to do that as much as possible when you need to make those decisions.
Yeah, and one other thing, I kind of said it a little earlier. If you're a younger DJ or you're someone that's really trying to break into a new market or a new venue or new anything, if you get a call from someone who has decision-making power and they ask you to do something, like, you need to bend over backward to try and make it happen, because if you say no, they're not going to come back to you again the next time there's an opportunity.
Absolutely not. We've done it plenty of times. Plenty of times.
We do it all the time.
You get in a pinch and somebody helps you out and that person gets next booking. Is it going to be top billing? Probably not, but they get next booking at a place comparable to the place that they helped out at, right?
Right. It's really funny because until we started booking a lot of DJs, and if we were just running Get Down without actually also DJing at the same time, that's one thing. But like, there's things happening. We need to make quick decisions, and we need people to cover shifts quickly and as soon as possible. We need people to say yes, and we're going to reward those people because that's just, we need to get that off our plate kind of thing.
I don't know if I've told this story on this podcast before. I know I've probably told you. So my buddy was working, just thinking about being available for people. My buddy was working at the Tunnel. This was obviously a long time ago, or Sound Factory. I don't know, but Rob Fernandez was his boss. Was like was the head promoter, and he worked under him.
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't know who Rob Fernandez is, he was a legendary promoter in the New York City nightlife scene at like the epicenter of it. So this was like, 97, 98, 99, 2000, Sound Factory, Tunnel, Twilight, etc. Actually, that ties back to
and I know him from Pasha. That's where I met him.
Okay, and that actually ties back to HQ a little bit because
that team was booking all the DJs. Yeah,
was his business partner, right? Well, anyway, my buddy was like, if I don't go to Rob's birthday tonight at whatever club it was, he's like, he's going to write me off. He's like, I need to leave right now. Fast forward an hour and a half later, I think we're like playing beer pong or something. He never makes it. He gets like written off, blackballed. And like, that was like the beginning of the end of his promotion career in New York City because he didn't show up to his birthday. Like something as simple as that. He wasn't like going to fill in a night to like DJ or to work for him or to do a door or anything like that. It was just something as simple as have the courtesy to show up to somebody who gets you paid, and say happy birthday and you can leave. You don't have to be there very long.
Yeah, you just got to show face, right?
The having loyalty in that regard is just as important. Like if your place does a venue, it books DJs at the venue, you got to show up every once in a while. You know, you're going to get blackballed. You're not, if you don't show up, like, don't expect to get booked there then. You know what I mean? It's incredible to me that, you know, people are just blinded by comfortability, you know, and I don't know, just the Rob story came up in my head when you talk about, you know, being loyal. And it's really important, and people should know that. But
should we blow up spots right now, or should we not?
No, absolutely not. You guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, getting back to coaching. So this week, now I've been out of the loop this week a little bit. I'm in my second week of this new job that I spoke about last week. 5:30 a.m. mornings, getting up at 4 a.m. is not fun for anybody. I'm used to getting home at that time. So
yeah, think about that. Literally.
Usually getting home at that time. So, you know, so we started this thing called GDU Bites, which I think was a fantastic idea that Kareem had. We consume what's the name? I always forget the name of that little podcast that we listen to, and they have like there's the 15-minute version, and there's like the 3-minute version in the morning. It's like a business podcast of some sort.
The Business Made Simple one?
No, you know what? Forget it. But I feel like that's kind of where it stemmed out of. Like, it was like a more of an overarching something snacks maybe.
Oh, Snacks Daily. It's like it's more, yeah, the one about finance and the stock market, right, and business. Yeah.
Right. I feel like that's kind of like where the idea, like there was an overarching idea for the week, but then, you know, a condensed teachable video. Maybe go into GDU Bites a little bit for everybody.
Yeah. So I read a lot of business books, and I went to school for marketing, and I'm passionate about branding and, you know, in marketing, and just creating something that fits with a business and brand. So I read a book by this guy called, his name's Donald Miller, and it's called Story Brand. I read the book, and it was like my favorite book that I read last year. Just really spoke my language. It was really about like creating very clear messaging, right? And so I did some research on Donald Miller and other things that he does, and he has a school and an online course and a bunch of online courses. Basically, he pitches it as going to business school, but not paying $40,000 a year. Like, that's kind of his pitch. And
we need more of that in the world.
Yeah. And he's really smart, and he knows what he's talking about. And so I signed up for his email list. And every day I get an email in the morning. It's like 2 to 5 minutes, and it's around one topic, right? And it could be anything around your business, how to ask for a raise, you know, 3 things not to do when dealing with a coworker you don't like. Like literally anything you could think of in a small little condensed video.
I can't believe he does this every day.
Every day. It's crazy.
He must have some team.
Dude, I shoot video, and it's hard, man. Like, he shoots 365.
He's definitely one time in it, right? Like, he's to the point where he's one time in it. Done. Out.
Probably.
He's got his team set up his cameras and his lighting, and he sits down, he shoots his video, and he leaves.
Right. Hopefully. He walks in, records the videos, and leaves. They're like, hey, this is what we're talking about today, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, so the idea stemmed from there because I found so much value in these really short videos, and I was way more likely to watch them because they weren't 20 minutes or 10 minutes. And I could put it on 1.5 speed, and like the video's done in 3 minutes. And I learned something every time. I take notes. I have a whole note of all the stuff I've learned from watching those videos.
Anybody who doesn't utilize the 1.5 speed when you're consuming, you know, podcasts or anything like that, like you're wasting your time, because it's got to be the most eye-opening thing that I've done in the last year, just to breeze through, even to like review stuff that we record.
Yeah,
it's just easier to do it that way.
But yeah, my friends and my roommate makes fun of me because they'll walk into me listening to a podcast on 1.5 and be like, "Why does he sound so weird?"
I feel like you listen to your fantasy podcast at like 3 times because I don't even understand what they're saying.
Yeah, big fantasy sports player over here. Don't make fun of me. No, so anyway, GDU Bites. So the idea is basically taking the business made simple idea and doing it on a weekly basis and gearing it towards what we do. So taking like business principles, but gearing them towards DJ business and DJ related topics.
I mean, I think people are going to get a lot out of it. Not that they weren't getting a lot out of the content that we were putting out in 2020, but I think this is a more focused, I don't want to call it themes, but like a more focused themed set of videos that people are going to easily be able to find on YouTube and on IGTV and wherever the hell else we put it out on. All over the goddamn place.
Yeah. So the first one we did was how to set or create smart goals, right? It's the beginning of the year. We've been talking about planning and goal setting. So that was the first video. And this week, the video that came out is 3 ways to stay on task. So more like procedural, organizational, just like back end type stuff. And I don't know. We're going to run through it real quick. I don't want to spend too much time here, but it's a lot of stuff that like you would think is obvious, but I think if you implement it into your business, it makes a really big difference, right?
I think a lot of things that we talk about are seem obvious to us, but not to everyone. We utilize the ability to go back and forth and bounce ideas off each other, right? Like that I think we heavily rely on that, especially while running the business, obviously, that when you're alone and you're just starting or you're in your first 2 years of DJing, or you're somebody like me right now who's relocated and trying to kind of come up with a new game plan for my market that you don't know anything about, it's like I can't come to you for that stuff. Like you can have very general ideas, right? So like I think having this tool for people is kind of like having that just to get the wheels going, right? Sometimes it's hard and you're sitting there and you're overwhelmed and you have kind of this blank stare going at your computer screen. Well, now you have something to kind of get, your mind in the right direction.
Yeah, I think simplifying things is always the best move, right? Like, yeah, there's all this stuff that's happening, but like there are certain things you could do, right? So the first thing seems really easy and simple. Get rid of distractions, right? So your phone is number one, right? Turn it off, put it on do not disturb. I put it in my room a lot of times to get it away from me so I could focus for an hour or an hour and a half and like really knock something out. Because you get notifications and texts and calls and you get pulled away and someone asks you to do something. And like, instead of you spending 1 hour and accomplishing something, it takes you 3 hours because you get distracted all the time. And it happens to me and it happens to you and it's annoying.
I think knowing your distractions too.
Yeah.
Like I know specifically your phone is one. Like for me, I don't have to look at my phone for 6 hours, but I think it's definitely knowing what that distraction is and excluding that from when you're in your workspace.
Yeah. Right. Like get rid of it. Or
whatever it is.
If you have a roommate, like tell them, hey, I have an hour. I really need to like focus on this one thing. Can you just let me do this? Or close your door or whatever it is. Like, the things that are taking you away from what you need to do. Turn your internet off. Like if that's what you need to do kind of thing.
Right.
The second thing, right? Create a to-do list every day. And I like to simplify it to what are the 3 things that I want to get done today? And if I get these 3 things done, it was a good day.
You got me on that last year. And unfortunately, you have to stay strict into keeping them as 3 things because
they can build really quickly.
I at some points had like 12 things and now, and that's when visually for me, that's overwhelming. Right. And now I'm like, all right, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to topple this today. And it becomes too much. And then that's when those distractions come in. Right. So yeah, keep your to-do list as those important things, like you said, and don't let it get far beyond that, and stay focused on those things. And then this way you don't have that overwhelming sense of anxiety.
You know what I do? So I'll take the reminders app on my computer and my phone, and I have a most important reminder, and that'll be the three things. And then anything else that pops up that I know I'd like to get done or maybe go to, I put on a different one.
Okay.
That's just kind of like a running list, so that once I accomplish my three things, if there's still time in the day, I can go then to the next list.
Okay. Yeah, I'm super easy. Like I just have my notes on my just right there on my desktop. I feel like, and on Monday I have my notifications on the tool Monday that we use, monday.com.
Yep.
Outside of that, like if I have more notifications outside of Monday, then I'm like, this is too much. Like I don't need this. I don't need the computer telling me I need to do things every hour of the day. Like then I get pissed off and I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna stick to my notes and I'm good.
Right. Well, you know what works for you, and you guys got to figure out what works for you as well.
Exactly.
And that's it. I think one of the other things too with that is just like taking a couple minutes, either the night before or the morning of, to be like, what are the three most important things I need to get done? Right.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have something on your radar, and it does pop up the morning of, and that becomes the most important thing that you have to do that day. You can't always plan 3 days out. Things are going to happen that are outside of your control. So the list can change, right? And being flexible sometimes that's key, right? To get set in stone, and have tunnel vision, I don't think is healthy. Well, that's not healthy for me. I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of moving more in that direction myself, whereas I used to be really like, well, I have to do this at this time, and I have to do this at this time. I've kind of eased up on that because it got too stressful almost.
Yeah, you're gonna give yourself a gray beard by the end of the year.
Listen, my dark beard is the only thing I got going for me out here.
You'll notice I didn't say gray hair, but I think that's really important. Eliminating stress for me is, and I think that should be for everybody too. Eliminating stress and anxiety should be your number one thing, and
especially now during this time.
Yeah, because you can't turn around without seeing something that's stressful, or talk to somebody that's stressed out, or had lost a job, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So yeah, eliminating stress and figuring out what works for you, and that you can go into your workspace with a clear mind and a motivated mind. That's definitely where it's at.
All right. And then the last one would be creating some sort of a time block. And I know when you think about time blocking, it seems overwhelming. It's like, I'm going to fill my whole day, and it's really rigid, and I don't get to get, the freedom to kind of play around with my day. I don't mean like creating your entire day and times that you have to do things. What I mean by that is every day have a chunk of time where you're doing your most important work. So, we have calls in the morning generally, and we have team calls, and you and I talk, and then like I eat lunch, and by the time lunch is done, like 12:30, 1 o'clock, I know from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I'm not answering a single text. I'm not answering a phone call. I'm working on the thing that I have to get done for the day. And I think that's important, to book time with yourself, right? Put your own most important thing and a meeting with yourself in the calendar, because if you don't, the phone calls, the Zoom calls, the roommate, the friends are going to take you away from actually being able to get that done.
Know when you're most effective too. I know I'm most effective between 8 and 10, like after 10 a.m., which sounds crazy. That that's still pretty early, but after 11 a.m., like my mind, because I've been working probably since 7:30 or 8 a.m., my mind starts to trail off, and then it's either, get ready for lunch, and then afternoon coffee, and then back at it.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the way I do it. I can't work after lunch. I got the itis. I want to be on the couch, man. So that's when I have my coffee and I get my second wind, for the afternoon session. And the afternoon session is often a lot shorter. I like to go heavy and load early. I said something to you the other day. I like to make money when people are sleeping. I like to do my work when people are not active. I feel like I'm accomplishing more, and I'm mentally getting like a one up on.
Yeah, because it's just you. Like most people aren't awake. You're not. There's nothing going on social media. There's nothing going on in your text. There's zero distractions.
Right. Like right now, I leave my house at 4:50 to go to work in the morning, and there's nobody on the road, and I'm halfway through my workday at 9:30 a.m.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, but I feel like, okay, well, I'm halfway through my workday. I have to now figure out how to navigate the after work and not be so tired afterward.
Yeah.
But I think once it becomes regular, like that's fine. And then like, yeah, I didn't waste the day. I got to make money in the morning and then still work in the afternoon, right? So that's the way I attack it. That's the way I'm, so everybody like figure out like what works for you and where you're most effective, and build your schedule that way.
All right. So, I mean, this is the type of content and the stuff that we're going to be talking about on the Get Down University Bites videos. We wanted to give you guys a little taste of like one of the videos, but, we're going to be talking about business related topics and how to run your business and behind the scenes stuff. We're going to talk about like how-to videos. We're going to talk about networking. We're going to talk about marketing. So you're going to get a little bit of everything. And whatever. This is something that's important. It's beginning of the year. I think it's a great time to evaluate how you get work done and what you want to get done. And that's why we're talking about these things. So
yeah, we just really want everybody to have a very productive 2021, right? Especially coming out of such a lull in our industry. And then I know you guys are still in a lull. And as we spoke about prior to getting on the pod here, that we in Florida, we're open, but we're still in a lull. Like the hospitality industry is still being greatly affected by all of this. No matter what they're telling you on the news, I'm telling you, being in the hospitality business down here, that we are still greatly affected. So, hopefully these little GDU bites gives everybody a little, spark of energy and ways to kind of grow their business positively.
yeah, and we've talked about too behind the scenes that a lot of the content we've been putting out and things we're talking about are or have been kind of more so like while things are actually happening. So I think a lot of the stuff that we're going to do moving forward is going to be, all right, this is the situation we're in. How do we deal with our current situation, and how do we set ourselves up for success as we continue to get through this and hopefully move out of it?
Yeah, I think as we encounter more gigs and encounter more management and bars and experience, more ways that we've approached the places that we're working at now, we will share that with you guys along the way, and not keep everybody in the dark. I think it's important to know how to successfully navigate this whole situation, because nobody's ever been through it yet, and as we gain more knowledge, we will share it, weekly. So stay up to date on that. Subscribe to us on YouTube. It's youtube.com/GetDownDJ Group. Where else are you sharing bites? On IGTV, I believe?
No, we are only sharing the full video of Get Down University Bites on YouTube. If you're in our Slack channel, we will also share it there. So if you're not in the Slack channel, it's free. You get content every day, stuff like the Get Down University Bites. Gary's creating curated playlists, which everybody loves. I use them. They're fucking awesome.
Fun to put together.
But yeah, so if you want in the Slack group, you could either check the show notes, or you can hit us up on Instagram. We can send you an invite, whatever's easiest. But yeah, Go show us love on YouTube. There's a lot of other cool videos that we shot in the last couple years that if you haven't seen, I think you're really going to enjoy. They're produced like really, really well.
Highly, highly polished and
very similar to our podcast and the stuff that we talk about, except it's with guests and it's on video. So it's cool. And it's shot in really cool locations. So check those out. Let us know what you think. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Good episode.
Yeah.
All right. I hope everybody had a happy new year. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. And, we're just getting rolling. Only like another, 51 of these to go.
Yeah. The real question is, are we going to get our 52? I think we will.
Yeah, we will. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. And everybody else, you guys are going to benefit from it. So, make sure you're following us and you're listening weekly, guys.
All right. We appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for checking out another episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace. We actually have a very special guest next week. We won't tell you who yet, but check it out.
Peace, guys.
Peace.